should just get those kids up.
I was gonna say I was walking over here and I had like 3 different people stop me. What time does it start? So I think people are like.
We'll start at like 7:15 then.
Yeah.
We'll just hang.
What do you do anyway? I need your money.
Oh crap!
Golf club. Golf club.
Hey dude. Did you find a dress? No, I didn't.
Did you just go to Cane's?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
Hey Liv.
Party is here. Packed house. Let's do this. That's what we're saying. Oh, this should be the path event of the year.
I wanted it to be before February 28th. For like.
Are any of the advisors coming?
Chris said he has to move furniture. So that's a no. Amy's
So Chris isn't coming.
Amy's in Indiana.
He was. He was in the back corner. Chris and our advisor.
We're going to start in like 20 minutes. Where's Morgan?
You said 20?
In like 20 minutes.
Are you serious?
No one's here. Why isn't I to start?
True.
That's what I said. Yeah. I don't know about Morgan.
I texted Morgan today and he never responded.
Joe's not coming.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
This is live, by the way, but the audio is off.
What?
This is live, but the audio is off.
It's not a big deal.
Oh yeah, you guys are being recorded too, by the way, live streaming.
Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Why is everyone wearing
There's no audio.
Wait, how do we view the live stream?
Ask him.
It's on YouTube and Facebook.
Everything else is just on 20 p.m.
Facebook is too bright.
Or YouTube. We have to type on our full channel
Gotcha.
to get to the Facebook.
Sounds good.
University of Gassman Government Association. Wasn't my choice.
Why is everyone in their quarter zips? Like, what?
It's an event. We thought we'd wear them.
Did you guys like talk about this, or did you? That's
I was first.
actually
I would like to point that
insane.
out.
I told you if they're not gonna dress up, they're gonna wear their quarter zips.
I've been in this for the past hour. But dang it, I'm still gonna wear head props. I promise, I promise.
Move your hand.
It's not around her, girl.
Just do a test.
It was my fault.
Hey Greg.
It's not live.
It was a
Big chill.
What's up, GT?
Not much. How we doing?
We're doing as good as we can be. I'll tell you that.
Hope your answer is good.
What? Buddy, you're gonna be crisp. I'm gonna start at a 10, dial it up to a 14 real quick. Are you watching it live?
I was.
Saw you brought snacks.
What?
Not you. Not you. Wait, what's up, guys? I brought the popcorn.
You guys say what's up?
No, I can't miss the show. I gotta listen to the laptop.
Glad you got out of bed for this.
What?
So glad you got out of bed for this.
Yeah. Oh, I should have picked up the food. I know. Popcorn. No. Popcorn. Fine. Okay.
Tongue you just dropped on the floor. Don't make a mess.
Bring some share.
Tongue you. Popcorn on the floor. Don't smash it.
5 minutes, bro. So, what's the guy gotta do to get on back? Not now.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. I mean, maybe to cover up that one or something. I don't know.
Or me, Kim K.
I feel like I can't. No one can cover up Kim K.
No, literally we said it would be the event. Like, oh, it would be. Yeah.
We're literally going to get a 10%
Oh, you're serious? Nowhere. I have $30 to my name.
Can we actually get ice cream?
Can we
If somebody is buying, I will gladly provide.
Who has the most flex?
Tom, you has flags.
That'd be a long debate.
I have like $10 on flex.
Flyer news is here. We did it. And the building. Vote everywhere should be shown.
At this point, people know, you know. Not too stressed about it.
So, odds that we just break out into song when the question's asked about our campaign theme song, you have to sing at least one.
Clyde, what do you say?
It's gonna be a game time decision. It's gonna be.
Should we be like, Sycamore because the video?
I actually think you guys should all just
Dude,
run.
I'm getting so eager to give you shit.
We have some what?
Run.
Just scatter.
Just gonna have more
We'll just
that would be
bail.
worse.
So, introduce
I would have
yourself.
let that go out there if that was the case. I just would be like, nope, that ain't me. You're like, is that you in that video? Nope. It's Roger's entire room.
I had speaker shoes on.
Gotta show, gotta pack the house, dude.
So sick of hearing it.
Back to the house.
No, they're shit. Like, it's funny. They're like this.
Sunny's got a lot. I'm about to go.
Yeah, I know I just turned it right back in. What else did I do?
Just sitting here loving the stream.
Lollapalooza.
Going bad. Meat no drink.
I was thinking of
God's plan.
Where's that go with this one? We want to see Ariana Grande and that one.
God's
Thank you. I literally emailed them about that.
Yeah, there's Irish stuff.
I guarantee you, one of those two is together. Every day's Patty. My body will function. I literally, there's two in a row. Love that holiday. I'm burnt out, bro.
You ready?
Here we go.
My roommate can do the Ariana Grande.
Do the what?
By the way, another thing I forgot to say.
Yes.
You guys already have a minute and a half to miss and then after the next
Let's play some music, just like Grammys.
I thought it's a good idea. Get some like Jeopardy music.
Oh, I literally cried when I found out he had cancer.
You were real emotional about it. That's,
Like, I'm actually so distraught over the
I've
fact
known
that
you for 2 years, and that's the saddest I've ever seen. Which is a good thing, I think.
Like, Jeopardy won't exist, guys.
Yeah.
Why?
And then I can't watch it on there.
Commenting on the screen.
Tyler.
I guess it'd probably be more.
Introduction, yes. I feel like they're just really lit crowd.
No, I'm digging the energy. Good vibes. It's alright. What sandwich is that, Tanya?
Really nice. Like, honestly, if you think about it, you have a better shot of losing this thing than me. So,
Yeah.
like, the odds are not in any way.
It's a depressing way of looking at it.
Like,
but
you got a 1 in 4 shot. We have a 1 in 4 shot.
Well,
So it's like,
well, shoot.
I bet that horse.
That's a great thing to say right before we get into this. Oh.
I mean, like, like, legitimately don't stress about it. Like, whoever wins isn't even gonna have the majority of the votes. Like,
Well, I mean, unless like 3 candidates get like 7 votes.
but
yeah,
like,
they
somehow I
can't say.
doubt that.
No, it's not good. I had a nightmare about that actually a few nights ago. That like Friday morning came and like they
You had-
announced the
you had
vote
5
totals,
votes.
and it was like I got like 7, and everyone else got like that would be that'd be real sad.
That's a very optimistic way.
Yeah.
Could go forward.
We're going to get started now. Welcome everyone to the President's Forum. I'm Cynthia, and this is Erica. So we have some pre-screened questions for us to ask the President candidates, and then we're going to go into audience questions. But we're going to be the ones asking them, so if you want to DM them through the SGA or text me, and then we'll read them out loud. And then FYI, this is being live live streams. Yeah. So we'll get started. So we're going to start with some introductions. If you want to go off with candidates. And Brian, you can start.
All right. Thank you so much, Sophia. Hello to all of you that have joined us in person and probably the 5 or 6 people online right now, hopefully more to come. My name is Bryan Borodkin. I'm a current junior here at the University of Dayton. I'm a political science major with minors in pre-law and sustainability studies. Currently, I serve as the president of SGA, so we are running for re-election with Tyler, who will introduce herself in a second as my awesome VP. On campus, I serve as a student ambassador, as well as an undergraduate researcher with the Department of Political Science. I'm on the Red Scare Executive Board. I'm the men's soccer chair. I'm also a blue man, so one of those crazy people that paints up their body blue, crazy red wig, that's me. In addition to that, I'm a president's emissary. I'm a inactive member of the mock trial team, and I'm a brother of the Phi Alpha Delta pre-law fraternity. So I'll turn it over to Tyler and give her the chance to introduce herself.
My name is Tyler Clogg. I'm currently a sophomore. I currently serve as Chief of Staff for Student Government, and I'm also a brother of Alpha Kappa Psi, and I work at the Blend, a division of Flyer Enterprises.
And the reason that we're running and we're on the ballot, this year I think it's been a really successful year in SGA. I think my current Vice President, Erica, and I have done some excellent things, and we want to see that trend continue. I'm excited to be working with Tyler. She has awesome ideas. We met, I was actually her tour guide before she even came to Dayton, so we've had a really close relationship ever since, and we're excited, if elected, to make some really positive changes here on campus. Thank you.
Maya?
My name is Maya Smith-Custer. I'm a sophomore international studies major, Spanish and economics minors. I'm a recipient of the W.S. McIntosh Award, so I intern for the City of Dayton Human Relations Council. I work for the Welcome Dayton Community Police Relations and Business and Technical Assistance Programs. I am currently serving as the Director of Campus Unity, so those Tough Talks Path Points events this year, that was me, and I am honored to be running with my VP.
My name is Jack Fisher. I am a junior political science major. I'm also a Arabic and Middle East and Islamic Studies minor. In SGA this year, I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief of Staff, as I did last year with Connor Savage. I also am in Arabic Language Club and also work at UDIT.
Well, hello, my name is Delali, Neonene, and I'm running to be your next student body president. On campus, I'm involved in Dayton Civic Scholars. I'm on the President's Task Force for Diversity and Inclusion, and I'm also I've been nominated for the, not nominated, I've been accepted into the State House Civic Scholars Program, so I'll be interning in Columbus this summer. In the past, I was the director of Campus Unity, in which I created Tough Talks, the event that was carried on this year. And along with that, we've also created a cultural module that will be implemented to all first-year students next year. So we're really excited about the potential work we'll be able to complete when we become president.
Yeah, I'm Connor Savage. I'm running with Delali. I will hopefully be the next student body vice president here. So what else I'm involved in on campus? So for 3 years, I have been in SGA. I came in as a class representative with Delali and Brian, actually, so known them for quite a while. Last year, I was the chief of staff, right around Jack right here. So, and then this year, I'm also the director of academic affairs. So basically, I represent the entire student body for everything academic related. Not as glamorous as it sounds, I promise you. But I'm also a marketing intern for UD Athletics, so that's been a lot of fun. I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Pi. I used to work for Flyer Enterprises, was manager for them last year, so that was a great experience. Last summer, I actually interned in the city of Dayton with Vivial, a digital marketing firm headquartered here. And this summer, I was fortunate enough to be accepted to be a summer intern with the National Basketball Association in the league offices in New Jersey. So that's where I'll be this summer, doing some accounting and finance work. So very excited to be here. Hopefully we can make a difference here next year.
Greetings. My name is Blaise Gassman. I'm an electrical engineering major. I don't want to give you my full resume for the sake of time. My 2 favorite things I'm involved in on campus are Dayton Civic Scholars, cohort 2020 with Delali. We always have a good time. If you saw my Instagram story, we were both painting together, enjoying ourselves amidst the elections. And secondly, I'd say president of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. That's I'm an electrical engineer, so it's been something fun that I've been able to do over the past 3 years. I've been involved on the executive board. It's been a lot of great experience, got a lot of national speakers in the past 2 years, and I'll hand it off to my vice president.
My name is Mike Sonnemar. I am running on Blaise Gassman's ticket for the vice president position. I'm a junior. I am a junior senator. I joined this year because I wanted to see change towards SGA. I'm also a brother of Phi Kappa Psi fraternity. I'm an entrepreneurship and marketing double major, and I think that brings a different aspect to the table.
Okay, the first question is, what is your campaign slogan and what meaning does it have behind it? We'll start with Brian.
All right, so Tyler and my campaign slogan is Forward Together. And when we were thinking about what we wanted our slogan to be, it was very strategic. We actually, I remember, brainstormed in our house for not our house, my house in Medina, Ohio. She came to visit over winter break, and we really started strategizing what our campaign would look like. And when we were brainstorming, we really thought what we wanted to sort of emphasize throughout our slogan, throughout our entire campaign. And what came to mind was the reason that we've been so successful this past year in SGA was because we have worked with other people. We've worked with other passionate students on this campus. We've found the departments that we've needed to connect with. We've connected with them in a strategic way, and that's what allowed us to be successful as an organization. With the slogan Forward Together, we're really trying to emphasize that to improve the campus climate even more, we will seek out those strategic partnerships with other organizations, as well as increasing the reputation of the Student Government Association as one ticket. We're really excited. We think the slogan really does our campaign and our platform justice, and we hope you guys will agree with that as we talk more about our platform. Thank you.
Jack and I chose the campaign slogan, Fly Higher. It really embodies our morals and our values. We chose Fly Higher because we love this university. I am from Dayton, and I have been a flyer all my life. It means the most to me to just go to games and show off my spirit, but we also realize that there are some issues and things that this university could improve on. So in my opinion, we go to the best institution in the world, but it can always get just a little bit better. So with Fly Higher, we hope that we can take what our university does well, what our university does not so well, and work together to improve it. Thank you.
So our motto is Fly With Us. We want you guys to come together so we can create a better, not only UD, but city. How can we use this position to connect with the city and better our campus? We've realized there's a lot of issues on this campus, and we realize that a lot of the outreach that's being created on this campus only goes to select groups. So we want everybody to come together with us and fly with us to a better destination of a greater UD.
We aren't politics, we are fun. Pretty self-explanatory thing there. We're basically just going to the point of a lot of people don't feel like they get involved with SGA. A lot of people that aren't in it feel like they don't see where a lot of the efforts go. I know a lot of people don't make it to a lot of events, if any, over their time. So we're trying to get the whole campus involved here. There's a lot of things I've learned over the past couple of years at UD. I love it here. I'm from Kansas City. Coming all the way here from UD, I didn't really know a lot of people, and I've got to create so many relationships. And I want to keep building the relationships to make UD the place it is. I'd say a lot of people would say that because people say people treat each other differently because they know they're going to see them around campus. People are so involved, so they're so interconnected. They have so many mutual friends and relationships. So we just kind of want to build that together and create it in a fun atmosphere. I mean, we're college kids. We're not doing anything too serious here. We're running for SGA and we want to make big differences, but we really want everyone to have fun while we're doing it.
Great. Next question is, how would you describe your leadership style and why did you start?
I would describe my leadership style as transformative. So I prefer to lead by example. I have a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of passion. And this year, leading the Campus Unity Committee, it was my favorite way to lead group projects, plan events, and bring my committee members together. So I like that my enthusiasm really just spreads amongst my team. And I hope that as SGA president, it can also spread into the SGA Senate, and the student body can pick up on that enthusiasm and want to work together to make positive change.
I would describe my leadership style by, I lead by learning. So I really listen to people's ideas, and I really try to work with everybody, because I realize that even though I'm a leader in a situation, that we're not going to go anywhere by simply me just stating my opinions about everything. So I come together and I just try to bring people together and facilitate a space where we can all share our ideas and come to the best solution through that style.
Okay, Blaise?
My personal philosophy is being a hard worker and being organized are the best way to get things done. Whether or not somebody likes you or not, if they know you're an organized person, they know you're going to get things done, it really just creates a relationship of respect, and I think that's the most important thing to do with other people. So basically, combining that with SGA to make sure I just get things done, get the ball rolling immediately, I think is the best way to effectively lead the student population.
It's over to me. All right, so what is my leadership style? In a word, extra. In all seriousness, I think that I'm known throughout campus of being a pretty big positivity guy. Our slogan last year when we ran for election was positive people for positive change. And I think what sets Tyler and I apart from our other competitors is that we have a very similar leadership style. We are enthusiastic, we are approachable, we remain positive despite negative and tense situations on campus. But with that positivity, with that sort of in-your-face, enthusiastic style, it comes from a very real and a very deep, passionate place. Both Tyler and I, our leadership style stems from the love of the environment that we have here, the community that we've been fortunate to experience throughout the past years, and that's what really drives us when we move forward. So yeah, our leadership style is aggressively positive, but in the best way. And I think that that's going to come in handy when you combat the administration, when you're working with other groups on campus. You'll always know that you have 2 years, 4 years to listen to, and we're going to listen with a positive attitude. Thanks.
Okay, next question. Can you give an example of a time when you had to solve a conflict when the odds were against you? So Delali, you'll start.
Okay, thank you. So the time we had to solve a conflict, well, this was my freshman year, and it really sparked the reasoning why I tried to create tough talks and why I tried to create a lot of open dialogues. My first year, there was a flag burning incident on campus, in which they depicted a picture of a flag, and it was in Art Street, and half of the flag was burnt, and this was right after Trump's election, and we were all talking about what was the meaning of the flag. A lot of people thought that this was disrespect towards the flag, and this was an open forum discussion, so everybody was just so much disagreement in the room, and everybody was in such great conflict, and I just stood up and tried to explain to people why the other side was feeling the way they were. It wasn't that two sides, one side was right, one side was wrong. It was that the side that believed that the flag was burnt is living through a different America than the side that thinks the flag should not be burnt. So in that instance, what I'm trying to really display right now is that the way I lead is just by trying to open up the situation and just create clarity and understanding, because in life you don't always come to agreement, but you can always come to understanding.
Thank you. Blaise?
I don't believe the need to see conflict. I see it's an opportunity to learn about other people's sides, create a commonality between the two. But if I were to give an example, I didn't look at these ahead of time, but freshman year in engineering innovations, for anybody that's an engineer, we basically get into groups and create a project based on certain stipulations that are created by an outside company. And we were getting to the point on our second project, we'd already been a team for a while, kind of creating our spots on the team, like what people are known to do. And we realized we weren't going to be able to complete our project correctly under the rubric and under the circumstances. So we thought we were going to have to scrap it entirely and start from scratch. But I said, let's leave today early, everybody come back with, because we were kind of headbutting a little bit. People were pushing like, my project idea was looking good this way, or I always said from the beginning we should do it this way. I was like, let's leave a little early today. Everybody think about what everybody's presenting to the table, possibly come up with a different idea. So we did that, came back the next class period, and everybody just was totally entirely ready to hear what other people thought. And we didn't even have to redo the project. We just went one step back and stayed ahead of the curve on the rest of the class. So it was a really good opportunity to see. We didn't even have to scrap our whole thing. We could fix what was already there.
So, although I think it's admirable, piggybacking off of what Blaise said, to not seek out conflict, given my time in this role, conflict is something that's going to present itself. And you need to vote for someone that you trust to handle those situations. This year, Erica and I have seen the decision from the administration to discontinue St. Patrick's Day and place St. Patrick's Day over spring break. We've seen the decision of the administration to prevent students from returning to campus until 3 p.m. And we've also seen the decision to discontinue the Dayton to Daytona tradition. The example that I'm going to talk about briefly is the 3 p.m. decision that I think a lot of students on this campus remember quite well and remember quite negatively. In this instance, Erica and I and some other members in SGA were very upset when that decision was announced. We immediately emailed the administration within the hour, and we said, hey, what's the rationale for this? What's the reasoning? Why was this decision made? They replied, and we set up a meeting. At that meeting, Erica and I came prepared with about 30 pages of DMs, texts, emails, all complaints and concerns from the students, taking them directly to the administration. Our goal at that first meeting was really to change that 3 p.m. deadline. That is what students were negative about, and that's what we wanted to change. But we realized quickly that that's not what would happen. The administration was pretty set on keeping that 3 p.m. return time, and they weren't going to budge. And at first, that was very disheartening for myself and for the rest of SGA. But at that point, it came to, all right, so this negative thing happened. There's this conflict that exists, but what can we get out of it? What is the positive from this situation? And from that point on, as an organization, we went back to the drawing board, and we basically said that the administration has poor communication styles. And that was really exemplified by this decision. So we went back, we had a second meeting with the administration, and we called on them to pledge to do 3 very important things next year. Those 3 things are, number 1, making sure that students are involved in all decisions that affect all students. In addition to that, they will actually be prompt in addressing student concerns. And thirdly, and most importantly, they will actually rely on the feedback given by students when informing their decisions. This is how I handle conflict, and this is how Tyler and I will handle conflict next year. Thank you.
Okay, Maya?
So for those of you who were student athletes or are student athletes, you might relate to this story. I played golf in high school, and I was the only girl to try out for the team. And that having been said, it was to make the men's team or not play at all. And for me, it meant everything to play. So after I'd made the men's team, I wanted to be team captain. I had the lowest score, and I thought, I can lead this team. So I actually got it from my coach, but other coaches gave a lot of pushback on a girl playing on a boys' team. And it really taught me how to be confident in myself as a leader. And it really showed me that you can have anything that you want to go for. And just because other people do not see that you're capable, you just have to show them that you are. And that is one of my favorite leadership styles, is to show you that I'm committed and dedicated. And it is actually one of the reasons why I want to run for president, is to represent those students who have been underserved and their voices have not been heard and their fullest potential has not yet been reached. And as SGA president, I want to increase programming and provide opportunities for students whose fullest potential has not yet been reached, and to improve on the opportunities that are available for them at this university. Thank you.
So, what is your platform promise? How does your platform promise that you're to get part of the projects? And we will start with Blaise.
Sorry, I thought Delali got skipped. The reason, no, he didn't, I know, it's my bad. The reason we are running is because we aren't really worried about what the administration's going to think about us. We're not doing anything with politics after school. I'm not worried about what they think. I've expressed my concerns to Dr. Speed in the past. And so basically, like, our platform, I 100% know is attainable. I've already reached out to a lot of entities and higher ups about these kind of things. But basically, the 3 main things we want to do is run on safety, run on making it more fun at UD again, and getting students their money back. And the way our platform just in those sticks out is by the specifics that we've laid out. I think it's very important to have specific goals. Just saying you're going to have a safer campus doesn't really do much if you don't have specific actions you want to take. So whenever you're considering what people are running on, make sure and look at their specific goals in mind. And I believe we have a very well thought out path to doing these once we are, if we are elected, and they have very specific action points.
All right, so let's talk about specific points. Tyler and my platform is broken down into 3 main themes, and those are students, safety, and stability. Under students, we want to continue to increase the transparency between the student body and the administration by expanding on the Campus Clarity Signature Series that I created this year. In addition to that, we want to reform Aviate. We've already had conversations with Steve Herndon, the Executive Director of Housing, as well as other administrative officials within Housing, to discuss the implementation of a massive reservation system so you no longer have to show up at PATH events 2 hours early to get in. If there's an event at 7, you can be at that event at 7, get in, get out, get your PATH point, learn something, and move on with your day. In terms of safety, we want to establish a new committee in SGA specifically aimed at making campus safer and reducing sexual violence here on campus. Essentially, the way this works is we want PAVEs, Peer Advocates of Violence Education, as well as ACOPs and public safety advocates to form this committee. We've already reached out to the PAVEs, to the public safety advocates, talking about this idea, and we've gotten unanimous support. We actually have a list of names of students that are all ready to join this committee if and when it does become a thing. We also want to work with the City of Dayton, as there currently exists a mutual aid agreement with the city that prevents us from having jurisdiction in the Fairgrounds neighborhood. This is unacceptable. We'll talk more about safety later, so let's move on to stability. In terms of stability, we want to increase mental health awareness here on campus, specifically by elevating the departments on campus that are not the counseling center. By elevating programs such as campus recreation, health and wellness, you reduce the wait period for the counseling center, and in addition to that, you reduce the stigma of seeking out mental health help here on campus. It's a national collegiate crisis that affects every single college in the country, and UD is no exception. Lastly, in terms of stability, under sustainability, we want to work to educate students on the work that UD is currently doing to make campus carbon neutral. We also want to work with nonprofits in the city to increase funding for sustainability initiatives. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to get really excited here. The first thing that sets our platform apart from others is that we want to bring a Flyer Film Festival. And by Flyer Film Festival, we would like to start a tradition here at UD. So several other colleges are already doing this. There's a campus partner that we would like to bring to UD that the Student Government Association budget can afford, and they would bring equipment to students to be able to make their own short films, and the university already owns a TV screen, so we would have a movie night in the KU Mall. Another thing that is really exciting to me, last year I did Green Dot training, and there I had the privilege of meeting fellow Flyers who founded the organization called UD Student Advocates. There I learned all about the conduct system and just different obstacles that students have faced navigating that system and how tricky it can be. And it's something that I was not familiar with until I had met their founders. So within SGA, we'd like to start a committee that is specifically based on helping students understand their rights and understand what to do when they are hit in the face with that conduct system process. Lastly, something that's super near and dear to my heart as a Daytonian is increasing engagement with the city of Dayton. So we already have invested in a flyer bus that, if you are unfamiliar, takes you from campus to downtown every 10 minutes. And students really don't use it. And that's mostly because they're unaware of things to do in the city. When I talk to students who aren't from here, they're not familiar what's going on in town, local businesses that are opening up, Dayton traditions, and different jobs that are available in the city of Dayton. So what we would like to do is increase student engagement in the city of Dayton, make them more aware of opportunities and activities, job opportunities in the city of Dayton, and increase our university's investment in the city of Dayton, which in turn would create mutual investment from the city of Dayton in our university. This would create opportunities for students while they're here and post-graduation. Thank you.
I think something that sets our ticket apart from a lot of the tickets up here is that we already have the best established relationship with the administration. So if you want a ticket, we can actually go in there and make the change. We know the right people, that we already have an established relationship with them. We have mutual respect for one another, and we feel that we can really get what we say we want to get done, and we can accomplish it. Connor is the Director of Academic Affairs. He meets with the provost on a consistent basis. I work in the provost office. I have a great relationship with Dr. Spina, and I speak to him on a regular basis. And I think that already established relationship, yes, some people might already have the chance to speak with him, and they might say they know them better, but to be honest, this is simply not the truth. We have the best relationship with the administration. And also, if you guys want somebody who, it's not, a lot of people can say they've accomplished a lot of things just by putting their name on it and saying they've made the event. But if you want good quality events that reach a lot of people, we're the ticket that can provide those for you. I've won Outstanding Event of the Year from the Student Leadership Awards. That is an award given by faculty who recognize the quality of an event. And so if you guys want promises that can be made, everything can sound nice, but the team that knows how to execute these is the Neonene Savage team, without a doubt.
Okay, next question. What aspect of student life is in most need of improvement? Why and how do you plan to address it? Brian?
Awesome. So there's two aspects that I think could be talked about for this. And since there's an entire question dedicated to safety coming up, I'm going to talk about the latter of the two, which is mental health. I addressed it a little bit earlier, but again, it's a national collegiate crisis, and UD has some work to do. This year, Erica and I created the Mental Health Committee within SGA, and they've done incredible work, but there's a lot of work that can still be done. Tyler and I put out a survey to the student body when forming our platform, and mental health was the #2 thing that they were most concerned about under safety. And the reason that this is an issue, I think, is there's a few reasons. Number one, there's currently a huge wait period for the counseling center, and this is tragic because this is arguably the most stressed we've ever been with classes, with work, with jobs, with extracurriculars. It's difficult for students to manage their time in an effective way, and all too often we see students suffering from stress, from anxiety, from depression that aren't getting the help that they need. What we plan to do, there's Chaminade Hall, which is currently undergoing a visioning session and reform, and what we want to do is really advocate for the movement of a few mental health programs into that new building, specifically community health and wellness. We want to create an indoor relaxation room, complete with aromatherapy corners, with arcade games, with a food pantry, paid for and staffed by SGA. So if you're in the area studying and you want to relax, you want some food, you need to take that mental health break, there's an opportunity for you there. But in addition, by moving community wellness out of Gossiger and into the new Chaminade, we reduce the stigma of walking into Gossiger. This is huge. Right now, if you tell people on campus, I'm stressed out, I think I'm going to go into Gossiger, it's assumed that you're getting counseling. And that's not necessarily true. We want to show students on this campus that there are other ways that you can get mental health help that don't involve the counseling center. And the good thing about that is it frees up space within the counseling center for students who need more serious help. Thank you.
An aspect of student life that is in most need of improvement is absolutely campus safety, and I'm going to break this down into two parts. The first part is safety in the student neighborhood, and actually this is one of my running mate's passion projects. We would like to apply for grants and work with administrators and faculty to apply for grants that will increase the number of blue emergency light phones in the student neighborhood. So if you're unaware, most of them are actually on main campus, and less of them are in the houses and near apartments where we all live. So we would like to increase the number in the student neighborhood. We'd also like to create a virtual map of where these are so that you don't have to just kind of figure it out. If you look at the University of Dayton website right now, they're actually just listed. For example, the one on K Street simply says on K Street, but not where. So if it's an emergency, you know it's on K Street and don't know. We would like to create this interactive map. Another university that does this really well, if you'd like to pull out your phone and check it now, is the University of Syracuse. They have a kind of like a Google map with pin drops for where every blue emergency phone light is. Another part of campus safety that I am very passionate about and I would like to address is welcoming. In order to feel safe in any environment, you need to feel welcome. So we're running for those students who are underrepresented in our minority populations, whose voices are not heard, and these most recent issues of racial slurs and hate groups being present on our campus have not been properly addressed with real action steps. So we would like to address those so that every flyer feels safe and welcome on our campus.
Thank you. Delali?
Well, I agree with Maya and Brian. I especially agree with the minority and the welcoming on campus. That's something of great deal that we've been working on for the last 3 years, so that's something we're definitely going to carry on. The main thing that Connor and I plan to address is the transparency between the administration and also the administration's funding of student government. When I went to the American Student Government Conference in Washington, D.C., I realized that in comparisons to other schools, our student government is not funded even close to a lot smaller schools that we have. And in order for us to be able to give the student organizations more money for them to keep advocating their causes, we have to have greater amount of funding. And with the transparency between the administration, we've seen this year the St. Patrick's Day, the Daytona, and there's no clarity, and the students don't even understand the reasoning behind this. In order for us to address this, we have to have a strong relationship with the administration, and that's what Connor and I will focus on when we're elected.
One thing that really worries me on campus is just the way that we've been getting lied to. Do you guys remember what they put in the water a couple weeks ago? I can't believe that they did that to us. They're putting, I'm just playing. So in all actuality, I don't think there's one certain specific thing that I want to focus on. I think that everything needs respect. I don't want to say this one topic should stand out above all the others. I really think that we need to focus on all of them. But if there was one thing that I wanted to harp on, safety, but as Brian said, we're coming to that later. But really just how the school does treat us, though. A lot of times decisions get made without us. We don't hear about it for a while. They add in new rules just because of the ways we're doing things. They put a limit on the amount of people that can stand on somebody's lawn, and that's how they get rid of people. Just sometimes even just having responsible fun with their friends. But they find ways to just create new rules without worrying about us, without consulting us, and that's one thing that we need to take care of.
The next question is, how will you interface with the administration, and how will you ensure that student concerns are prioritized by them?
Also, you're only going to get a minute, 30 seconds instead of 2 minutes just for the sake of time.
Because we have a lot of these questions.
Yeah. Maya.
One thing that I will use is the fact that I have actually had a relationship with Dr. Spina since my senior year of high school. And as unpopular as his name may be amongst part of the student body right now, I think that is very important in building our general student body relationship between administrators and making sure that student voices are being heard when my running mate and I amplify them stepping into the role next year. So having already established a relationship as a Daytonian, seeing them in the community on summer breaks, winter breaks, spring break when I go home, and being able to say, hey, you know my face, you've seen me in the community, and now I'd like to present you with an issue that a student has shared with me. So I think that would be very important in amplifying students' voices.
So the first thing we're going to do to get students' voices more recognized on campus is we're trying to make all student government meetings ABA pathway eligible. By doing that, we will simply get a larger group of students to attend the Sunday meetings, because we realize if you go to a path point event on campus, sometimes you're not even interested in going, but as you get there, you'll be able to become more involved in what they're talking about. And we think that if we can get a larger student group, in turn, we'll be able to hear more of the students' concerns. And also to work with administration, as I said earlier, Connor and I have a great relationship with Dr. Spina and Dr. Benson. At the last basketball home game, we had the honor of sitting up courtside close to the court with them. And when we were there, we were really talking about some of the issues that we see and we're going to address next year. And I think that already established relationship, the fact that I go into the provost's office every single day and talk to him on a daily basis, just shows how really strong our relationship is. And it's really just laid down the foundation for change that we're going to be able to create when we are elected next year.
One thing you all should know about me is I'm a very goal-oriented person. So when I set my mind on a goal, as this is talking about, I'm 100% going to get it done. You do not want to be on the other side of it, because I'm going to bother you about it. I'm going to work on it until it gets 100% accomplished. I've had this happen many times, even at UD, where you just got to keep hitting the nail on the head. You got to keep finding different ways to do it. You just cannot stop. If you set your mind to something, you will get it done. I 100% believe this. I 100% think that if you just trust the way that God will help you find the way to get it, you will get it done. So I mean that's not a specific way of doing it, but I mean we've all talked about it now. We're all friends with certain people that are in the administration. We've had opportunities to interact with them. Just already having that basis is good, so that they know that that's what I will be doing. Is I won't put up with any people getting treated poorly student-wise, and I won't be okay with them implementing policies that aren't okay. We're going to make sure we're going to keep at it until we get what we want. And I promise you, over the course of a year, we'll weigh them down and we'll get the way we should be treated.
So we will interface with the administration by showing respect, by disagreeing without being disagreeable. You heard from a ticket not 5 minutes ago that they don't care what the administration thinks of them. That is not a way to go about this position. The way to get work done is to quite literally show respect for the people that you disagree with, but at the same time be an advocate. This past year, Erica and I have done an incredible job seeking out student concerns. Not only the concerns of the loudest students on this campus, but the concerns of those that might not normally voice concerns. As I mentioned earlier, we've presented documentation to the administration with over 30 pages of concerns, questions, complaints, and they took that. I think the issue is there is such a tension right now between the student body and the administration. But the nature of this role is you need to know how to work civilly with both. That's something that I've done all year, and that's something that I'm confident Tyler and I will do next year. Thank you.
Okay, the next question's fun. If your campaign had a theme song, what would it be and why? Delali?
It started with me. So this is an oldie, a nice soul song. It's by Sam Cooke. It's called "A Change Is Gonna Come," because that is what's gonna happen when you elect us, and I promise you it. And I just wanted to speak earlier on the person who just spoke before me, attacking other people on the stand. I say that they wanna bring the voices of underrepresented people, but when the slur was written earlier this year, it took a long time for the Student Government Association to even react. And I've had many members from the minority community come up to me and say that they're not even addressing what's going on to people on this campus. So I just want really people to be, cognitive. A lot of people can sound good when they speak up here, but the truth is in the actions, and the actions have not defined what they represented.
Blaise?
Eric, I'm so glad that you're a fan of fun. So for my song, I'm going to choose. I'm going to go with "Margaritaville" by Jimmy Buffett. If you guys have ever heard that, that is a very good song to listen to for a nice little weekend by the pool. And I got to tell you what, one time I went to the lake with a group of friends, and we only listened to that song for 2 days straight. And it is always a good time, and I will always be a good time for you.
Our campaign song is a perfect 50-50 cross of "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen and "All in This Together" by the cast of High School Musical. We think that this past year has been a success. Arguably, this has been one of the best years of SGA that I think we've seen, and I'm trying to say that from a non-biased perspective, although I can see how that might be hard to do. Crossing that with the wonderful words of Troy Bolton, we really want to work with every single student on this campus. We want to work with those that are not being the loudest and pushing for the fun and that aspect. We want to work with students that typically haven't voiced concerns with our organization.
Maya?
The song we chose was "Roar" by Katy Perry. And if you haven't heard that song, it's super uplifting, but Katy Perry's voice is heard. And that's the whole reason why we're running, is for students' voices to be heard who SGA hasn't amplified in the past. And the whole reason that we want to do this is to show that we're not going to stop until all students feel equal and feel equally represented on this campus. And we've demonstrated that in our commitment to community and our work in the SGA Campus Unity Committee and our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Now we're going to come right to the audience questions.
Because we got a bunch of them. Some of them might just be directed at one person, so after that person speaks, if you also want to speak, just speak. And so it'll be a minute 30. How do you plan to continue building a positive rapport with housing and residence life?
Is that for everyone?
Blaise, you start.
So housing and resident life, I think the first thing that you would need to look at is AVA. Everyone's got problems with it. I think the most important thing way to change AVA is we know it's not going to get totally reversed. We know we're not going to make any certain sudden change that just ruins the program because the administration knows they want to continue on with it. But one thing that we can attain is getting live standings. And the problem they currently have with that concept is they don't want it to be a competition. But in actuality, it is a competition, so they just need to throw that idea out the roof. But the way we can fix that is just by not putting names, and there's no competition to it. You're just simply letting people know where they stand. That's just clarity. That's something that we can all get behind. And I think, honestly, that would solve so many people's problems on it. I think that we could also look at making housing a little bit more affordable for students on campus. I don't know if you guys saw, but housing just shot up anywhere between $50 or $300 between properties. And that just kind of seems a little steep for one academic year difference. So that's just something we need to keep kind of working on and make sure we make a difference on.
I think the way we continue to build positive rapport with housing and residence life and RHA is by reaching out and by attending their meetings as well. Tyler and I actually just recently met with RHA. We've been endorsed by RHA, and that's a huge honor and a huge compliment to the work that SGA has put in this year under our administration to work hand in hand with them. Right now there is a Director of Residential Affairs, and currently right now we are undergoing a huge constitutional change within SGA to better meet the needs of housing and residence life as well as RHA. So I think the way we continue to build rapport is, again, by disagreeing if we have to, but with not being disagreeable. And I think it's knowing when to advocate and what to advocate for, and I think that's what Tyler and I will do, especially with the good graces of RHA, which we received this past week. Thank you.
I think that we can improve. First off, I have to agree with Blaise. Aviate transparency is absolutely necessary. The university has invested millions of dollars into this Aviate program, so we are not doing away with it, but I think it would be ideal that we make it clear as to how many path points you need to live in certain areas of the neighborhood and where your path points stand. That being said, I also think it's important that SGA do a better job of amplifying the issues and concerns of residents when projected. So this year and in years past, SGA has not done a good job of addressing the issues in residence halls, especially in regard to hate acts and racial slurs. They've kind of been swept under the rug, and we're running to make sure that those issues get addressed with real action steps and to hold the university accountable for addressing those issues and updating students when it comes to investigations and issues that occur in the residence halls. The majority of our students are residential students, so this is an issue and a concern that faces our entire community and what our community stands for.
Oh yes, I definitely agree with the people before me. Aviate is definitely a conflict on campus that needs to be addressed. I noticed this year when I try to go to Pathpoint events that a lot of them are full before I can even get there, and you don't even know where you stand in the comparison of other students. So it's really something that we're going to work forward. I plan on really just amplifying that Director of RHA position that we have, Director of Housing and SGA, really use that position to really let us know more so of the students' opinions. And we're going to be sending out surveys on what students feel like the biggest issue in housing is, because right now I'm not a complete expert on all the conflicts within housing, but I can assure you that by the time we're the president, we'll definitely have like a committee and everything going over those large issues that are affecting the students right now.
Okay, this question is from the audience for Blaise. It's regarding your campaign slogan. SGA is nonpartisan and has little to nothing to do with politics. So what exactly is the message behind your slogan?
Well, I mean, I guess it just depends how you want to look at it. Because if it's not politics, why is it filled with poli-sci majors? I don't know. It's just I can hear that a lot from engineers that I've talked to, is they've just kind of felt a little underrepresented. And that's not my thoughts, it's what other people on campus think. Same thing goes for business students. There's more involved in SGA, but some just don't really think that it doesn't cater to other groups on campus. We see a lot of groups not get a lot of funding from SGA, and there's problems with that because they have a $200,000 budget. I just think there's more clarity that can be worked on with more groups on campus. But, I mean, yeah, if you want to have a follow-up to that, I'd love to talk about it more.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything on it?
Could I jump in really quick? I think going off of the question, why is it full with poli-sci majors? It's not. I think poli-sci majors have a natural inclination towards student government because it's something that they're passionate about. But if you look, there is a position within every single school and department here on campus. Connor's familiar with that within the Director of Academic Affairs. There's a natural science representative. There's a representative for the engineering school. Further, the fact that, you know, a lot of schools and a lot of different organizations don't receive funding, I think that's more of a problem and lack of transparency within the funding process, because any organization that reaches out for funds, as long as it's a legitimate request, we provide at least up to 80% of those funds for that organization. We don't discriminate whether that's a political science organization, whether that's an engineering organization. We try to provide the exact same amount of funding to any group that applies for it.
So this audience member has said, this is for all of you, I have seen many platforms are focused on working towards ending sexual assault on this campus. How will you all work towards ending that, and what experience do you have working with campus groups with similar values such as PAVE and Green Dot?
Okay. I think what separates our platform in terms of sexual violence prevention from others is experience. This year I actually went to the Ohio Summit on Sexual Violence Prevention. All colleges and independent universities from Ohio was there. I was one of SGA's representatives at that conference. It was a great time. We learned a lot about event programming, about how to go about, in the best way, preventing sexual violence on campus. Talking a little bit more about this student safety committee that Tyler and I intend to create. This committee will serve two parts. Number one, it's a place that paves peer advocates for violence education, who I would argue are the experts in sexual violence prevention on this campus, to come together with public safety advocates, with those who really have an expert and a passion on the topic, to have a constant dialogue with our senators here in SGA. But it also does one other very important thing. By creating a new committee in SGA, you are allocating a certain amount of our budget to whatever that committee's purpose is. By creating a new committee on sexual violence prevention and on safety, we are allocating funds of that SGA budget directly to sexual violence prevention efforts, and that's something that SGA hasn't seen in the history of the organization. Thank you.
Yeah, campus safety is one of the core values of Fly Higher. For me, growing up in Dayton, I grew up going out to eat on Brown Street and seeing the student neighborhood and seeing how fun it was. And for me, it's been my dream to have a house in the student neighborhood. That having been said, I want to feel safe in that house just like you do, and I want all students to feel safe and to have that experience of knowing the student neighborhood is really their home away from home. We would like to add those blue lights. That's really one of our biggest goals, is to make sure that every block has a blue light and it's nearby, so that even if you are in trouble or you don't have your phone, you know that you can call for help. Even if that blue light is hopefully never used, it's there and you know where it is. Also, we'd like to apply for grants and ask the city for money to increase the number of streetlights in the student neighborhood. So there are certain blocks that don't have as many streetlights as they could, and that increased lighting will deter crime and deter theft. Also, as SGA President and Vice President, we would like to increase student awareness around the program such as Green Dot. I am Green Dot trained, and I thought it was one of the best decisions I had ever made. And around Chief Chapman's safety initiatives. So he teaches several training courses on how to be safer in the student neighborhood and what to do if you see a friend in trouble. So we would like to increase student involvement and awareness for those and make those PAP eligible so that more students are educated on how to react in an emergency situation and how to help out a fellow flyer if need be.
Campus safety is a huge priority of ours. Every child, every student who comes here should feel safe, and every parent who sends their child here should feel like they're having a safe environment to go to. I personally live on the far side, so I really see how it's really different than the student neighborhood. When you walk over there, I remember earlier this year, people's cars have been robbed. People have even just, sometimes I come home and I'll just see my trunk open, even if it's locked. So it's really not a good environment to be in there currently. And for us to know that a large majority of our students live over there and they're not, properly taken care of, I feel like that's a responsibility that the school really needs to, work on more so. So I think that's something that we're really going to work on, is our far side outreach, to let them know that, hey, you're still a part of the UD community and we're still going to keep you safe. Even on snow days, sometimes the streets aren't plowed, so it's harder for students to come. So it's just, granting them access and making sure that they're taken care of as well. Secondly, we plan to work on strengthening the relationship with the police department and Chief Chapman. I already have a strong relationship with Chief Chapman, and we really think that his input, along with, in order to work with him, we have to really enhance the way the students view the police. So we're not only just going to work on sexual assault, but police relations as well. That will eventually help with that. And thirdly, and most importantly, we're really going to upgrade the amount of time given to PAVE in our campus and in our student government. We plan to expand the way PAVE is done. I know another candidate has already said it, but me and Connor have really strategized on making a committee in which we will incorporate PAVE's priorities into making sure that these sexual assaults on our campus decrease and eventually stop.
There was once a man who was selling copper replicas of Abraham Lincoln on eBay. He made thousands of dollars, and all he was selling were pennies. The reason I bring this up is you could have the best product in the world, but if you cannot market it correctly, you will not get it sold. And my product is campus safety. And everybody else wants to make a campus safety committee, but that was actually what me and Mike thought of first semester is what we wanted to do. And I'll tell you what, the owner of Tim's was blown away by some of the things we wanted to do, and he said, as soon as you win, let me be your first call. I want to be on your committee. And he said, I've already worked at the administration. I know what hoops and hurdles you have to jump through, and I know what problems it has with the school and all the just bureaucracy they go through. So he already let me know. I sat down with him for an hour. He told me about a lot of this. I learned a lot, and I feel like I already got a really good leg up on everything. But basically, my point is if you have the best ideas in the world, no one wants to listen to you, you're not going to get anywhere.
Okay, the next question. This goes for everyone. How do you feel SGA handled the tension between students and the administration leading up and following this year's campus-wide celebration of St. Patrick's Day? If there's anything you would have done differently, what would that have been?
Maya, you can start. Leading up to the tension, I would definitely do a better job of amplifying the voices of both. So there was a lot of misunderstanding as far as how the students felt and why the students felt that way, and the administration's understanding of that, and vice versa. I think the best way to build transparency between both and to help the administration better understand students' needs is understanding what students would like to do to have fun, but also the students understanding why the administration has made certain decisions that they've made. Sometimes, even to me as a student, I felt like certain decisions were unfair or weren't ideal to what I had wanted, and then I learned why those decisions were made. I think that it is most important for students to understand just the reasoning behind the policies, but I think that it's essential for administration to project those reasons. I think it's unfair to students to hear a policy or decision being made and not understand the reasoning behind that a flyer may have been hurt in the past, or how it is to protect us. So in sum, I would like for the administration to project those reasonings to SGA, for SGA to explain to students, so that students understand policies, new initiatives, and new procedures.
I believe student governments could have done a better job letting the students know the reasoning behind what the administration made the St. Patrick's Day, the spring break over St. Patrick's Day. A lot of students did not even know that the spring break decision was made before the riot. But because there was no transparency, which is the role of student government, because this was not accomplished, the students thought that the spring break was because of the riot in the previous year. Now, I'll tell you something. The weekend after the St. Patrick's riot, my sophomore year, I was in President Spina's office talking to him, figuring out how we can have another St. Patrick's Day next year that is safe, responsible, and brings in income to the students. I don't know any other ticket who has done that. We've been working with the administration to try to create an event that would distract traffic from the Lowe's area or potentially block off the Lowe's area during the time period of St. Patrick's Day, in which students can come in with their student ID, and this would eliminate the presence of non-UD students, make the campus safer, and allow the University of Dayton students who pay $50,000 a year to celebrate a UD tradition.
General Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, plans are useless, but plans are everything. And basically what he's getting at here is plans can go to crap pretty quickly. But if you don't plan for stuff ahead of time, then you are in a world of trouble. And basically, I think everyone here probably remembers St. Patrick's Day last year. There was cops with riot shields and everything. I'm not sure why SGA wouldn't have gone out of their way to know way ahead of time what the school was going to do. They should have known about that months ahead of time. They should have been in communications with the president. They should have known exactly what they were going to do ahead of time. But I didn't hear anything about it, and we ended up getting kicked out of all of our houses until 3 p.m. on the day of. And I live 600 and some miles away. So that was a big issue for people that live really far away. I don't want to have to come at midnight the day before or super late. It just creates a lot of issues, and SGA just needs to plan stuff really far ahead of time and keep working with the administration on that. That is a whole situation we entirely could have avoided.
I just wanted to, is the question about this St. Patrick's Day or last St. Patrick's Day? Okay, so this St. Patrick's Day, there were no riot shields marching down the street. The 3 p.m. decision was stressful, albeit, but talking about having a plan as an organization, this year we did. We took the information that the administration gave us, we actively sought out that information, and we made a plan with the best of the circumstances. The issue with this 3 p.m. decision, I will admit there are things I would have done differently leading up to and after. Specifically, when we got this email about the 3 p.m. decision, that was released to the students the same time it was released to SGA. That was really upsetting, because in the past, SGA has enjoyed a solid relationship with the administration, that when things like that are announced, SGA typically does know well in advance and can form a plan. I completely agree with Blaise on that. If we had had that information ahead of time, we would have formed a different response. We would have handled ourselves differently. Specifically in my case, I think I got caught up with this 3 p.m. decision in what the word advocacy means. Does it mean that you advocate for what the most students are saying, or does it mean that you advocate for what students will benefit from the most and what's right? And I think that the first meeting that SGA had with the administration leading up to this St. Patrick's Day was focused on what the most students were saying and not what's best for the students. And if I could go back and do it again, I think I would have approached that more intelligently.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So is the students coming back at 3 p.m. that was best for the students?
That's not what I said. I think that when we were going into that meeting, we were advocating for the complaints that we had been hearing since that email was out. This 3 p.m. decision is ridiculous. It's all the points that you raised, which I think are completely valid, and I shared those concerns with a lot of the students. The issue, though, is based off of what happened last year, the administration wasn't willing to give. I'd argue that you could not put another president and vice president pair in that room with the administration and have gotten a different outcome. Bill Fisher.
Don't trust on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You got one example of that so far.
So let me quote something that the administration directly said. Bill Fisher, who's the current vice president here, said, and I quote, "The administration is ready to fall on their sword for this issue. It is not something that SGA or any student could have changed with this 3 p.m. deadline." And that was unfortunate. That's why I cried during that meeting. I was heartbroken. I was stressed out. Erica was there. Ryan Pearson was there. It was a high-stakes meeting. What we thought was best at the time was lowering that, or even having students come back on a different day, coming back even the day before St. Patrick's Day or the day after and missing a day of school. But they weren't changing that 3 p.m. decision. That's just something that wasn't going to happen. So then we restructured it and talked about, okay, what is best for students? Is it best for students to drive through what is already arguably going to be the most packed day drink of the year? Is that what's good for students, to have parents and their children driving through insane streets similar to the caliber of last year? Now, I want to say, what happened this year I think was great. I think it was an awesome example of how students can enjoy a tradition responsibly. The concern of the administration was that it would be similar to last year, and it would be parents trying to drive through a street that literally you can't see the ground of. And I think that's what their concern was. However, given the events of the past 2 weeks, I think they're going to be less strict when it comes to St. Patrick's Day. We've upheld our end of the bargain, and I think it's important for you to vote for somebody that's going to make sure they're accountable to hold up their end of the bargain.
Thank you, Ryan. Next question goes to everyone, but we're going to start with Delali. Audience member said, I would like to hear how the individuals running only with men on their ticket will ensure that women on this campus are being represented and heard.
No, definitely. That's really an important part. And we actually already have a lot of females on our campaign team. And actually, you'll see later tonight, we're going to post somebody that we're sponsoring as a position, running for a director position. She's a female. I think that definitely I learned last year we didn't have enough females on our team. I don't even look at people for, I don't want to just, a lot of people say that. I don't want to be that guy that say I don't really see sex, but we're going to be able to work with everybody. So we already have good relationships. If you're qualified and you can get the job done, we're going to hire a female. I can guarantee you that more than half of at least half of our staff, our executive board will be female, and I will promise you that. We're going to have it diverse. We're going to have it diverse by race, international, whatever the case be. And I think that, yeah, I'm not even going to speak on that. We're going to make sure that everything's going to be good.
So I was lucky enough to grow up with 4 moms. My mom passed when I was 4, but my 2 sisters both stepped up, and my grandma did, and they were the most influential people in my life. They taught me to treat everybody right and trust me. If I did anything out of line regarding girls, or if I didn't respect them 100%, then I was in a world of trouble. But basically what I'm getting at is, I agree with Delali that you do need the diversity in making decisions. And a lot of the decisions that I make, I 100% always reach out to girls, especially as I just talked about, the most influential women in my life. And I'm always the first person to advocate for when people have have any kind of sexist comment, even if it's in a joking manner. Even like what you say as jokes can lead to other thoughts. So that's something that I think is, just because my campaign partner is a male, I don't think has anything to do with that. I think that perception in itself is a little biased, because we 100% want to work with women, and we hopefully will have a lot of women in SGA.
I have no comment to that. My vice president is a female. This year, when Erica and I were leading SGA, we made sure that all of that happened. Half of our executive team, I think actually over half of our executive team are female. I think we have a really strong diversity, probably the strongest diversity within the organization that we've seen. I will say there's a lot of more work that can be done, reaching out to minority organizations on campus to really increase the diversity of our organization. But I think we've done really well this past year, and I have no doubt that we'll do well next year as well.
To speak on that, I am a female. If you can't tell, I do identify as a woman. That having been said, we are truly running for diversity and inclusion. So outside of including women into SGA, as an international studies major, as a Middle Eastern and Islamic studies minor, it's important for us to include other identities that have not been represented in SGA. So, for example, I am actually the only black woman sitting on the Senate floor. Yeah. So, we want to include more international students in SGA, more women of color, more men of color, and more LGBTQ+ students within our SGA organization. So that means partnering with those multicultural organizations, which we've done really well this year, and incorporating other organizations such as Spectrum. If you're not aware, that's our LGBTQ+ student union into SGA. So SGA represents all students, and we want to make sure all students have their seat at the table.
Thanks. Okay, the next question is for all of you. What actual steps will you do to help support minority rights, immigrant rights, and LGBTQ+ rights on this campus, especially in wake of white nationalists making moves on campus and in Dayton? Which you can start.
So I think first we need to start with our Catholic Marianist values. Anyone who fully believes in those and fully understands what those mean would know that all those thoughts are just completely out the door. I've actually talked to people in the Office of Multicultural Affairs on more ideas that they have specifically through like their mentoring programs. I'm not entirely familiar because I'm not in that program, but that's just kind of where it's a great opportunity to reach out. I don't think your president or vice president has to know everything about the school. I think they have to know how to effectively communicate with and use the groups that are subject material matters to help you work to implement rules and new ideas that we need.
I think in order to be an advocate, you need to know a certain amount about whatever you're being an advocate for, but I agree with Blaise. I don't think you have to be a 100% expert on whatever that issue is. I think moving forward next year, it's really going to be emphasizing that hate has no place on this campus. And whether that's reaching out to every single organization within OMA, forming strategic partnerships, that's what we'll do. Right now, I think that an issue with this hate that we've been experiencing on campus, there's reactionary and there's also proactive measures that you can take. Talking about proactive measures, Tyler and I will do everything in our power to ensure, as Maya was saying, and I think every candidate up here will strive to do that as well, to really make sure that our organization is diverse as it can be, and will set that standard of hate is not tolerated. In terms of being reactive, because hateful events will still happen. And it's doing what we can to formulate a proper response. We'll do what we can working with the administration and working with other key departments here on campus. If you aren't familiar, tomorrow there is going to be an anti-hate demonstration on KU Field from 3:30 to 5. A lot of our organization will be there, and we encourage you to come out and see the type of reactionary events that Erica and I and the rest of SGA have tried to work with and sponsor this past year. Thank you.
This is core to what Fly Higher is all about. So for us, diversity, equity, and inclusion really needs to be strengthened on this campus. I sit on the President's Task Force for Diversity and Inclusion, so I'm able to sit at those meetings with administrators now and see what the plans are for the next few years. But I still think those initiatives could be stronger. There's a lot of diversity in the city of Dayton. I actually work for the Welcome Dayton program, and if you're unfamiliar, we provide resources to immigrants and refugees in our community and do a lot of community outreach. That having been said, I've been able to increase my global consciousness, gain a better understanding of what immigrants and refugees need in our community. So we'd like to do that by creating more programming for international student inclusion. Also, it's really core to us that all Flyers feel at home here on campus. There have been a lot of unfortunate hate acts and racial slurs. Some of them I've experienced in my time here. And for me, it's all about why. It's really what I'm running for. My younger brother, black male, really wants to go to UD. He's a junior in high school, and he thinks that this is the best place on earth, and he really wants to follow my footsteps. But I want to make sure that when he steps on this campus, it's a place where he feels welcome, safe in his skin, and feels represented, and acts like he can be at home here. Thank you.
Fighting for the rights of minorities and underrepresented groups is what I've dedicated myself to these last 3 years. I really pride myself on the fact that I just don't say that this is wrong. I've made the steps to address this. I've worked with the president of Batu, Darius Beckham, in the back, and we created a cultural module that all first-year students will have to take for the remaining of the long foreseeing future of the University of Dayton. This is going to be there with the Haven and PAVE, the two modules that you have to do with Alcohol EDU and the PAVE module you have to do. You will now have to complete a cultural module to address the issues of international students, racial minorities, and LGBTQ+ students. This issue is really personal to me. I'm not only a minority, but I'm international. My father's an immigrant, so I've really seen the issues that affect the students on campus and the way that they're perceived. And for the last 3 years, every single day, this is what I've been fighting for. Tough Talks. The whole purpose of the event was to allow other people to understand different people's backgrounds. So when we win the presidency, this is going to be our initiative. How can we make campus better for all? I'm from Dayton as well, and I've seen how some of my friends who don't go to the university, when they're on the university, they're called townies, they're disrespected. This Dayton bubble that we live in right now, it needs to be addressed, it needs to be changed, and it needs to be popped. We need to pop the bubble. And that's something that that's something me and Connor and I will address when we win the presidency.
Thank you. Okay, another question from the audience. This goes to everyone. Can you please expand on your experience at SGA? Brian, you start.
I love this organization with my whole heart. Coming into Dayton, I was always interested in being in a position of leadership and a position in service to the area that is my home. When I came to Dayton, I came from a high school experience that was not good. I experienced bullying, depression. I ran for student government every single year in high school, and I never won an election. And coming to Dayton, it has been the most welcoming environment for me. I would not be where I am today if it was not for the opportunities afforded to me throughout the entire university, but specifically throughout student government. My first year here on campus, I had the honor of serving as a first-year senator with Delali, with Connor, and with a man named Baylor. My sophomore year, I was a part of the executive team. I was the sergeant at arms, which is sort of a judicial kind of enforcer role within the organization. And this year, I truly has been the honor of a lifetime, serving as SGA president. Win or lose this election, I think I have a lot to be proud of, and I'm going to keep my head high, and I know you all will as well, regardless of the outcome. But it has truly been the honor of a lifetime serving this year. Under my role, I've really strived to advocate for all of our campaign promises. I think we've done a really successful job in doing that, and if it's in God's hands and if it's in the students' hands, I'd like to continue to do that next year as well.
Brian, Maya?
It's been an honor to be a part of SGA. In all honesty, when coming to UD, all I knew is that I love Dayton and I really love UD, and I wanted to give back to the university that just gave me an amazing opportunity to be here. I at first didn't know what that would look like, and it actually looked like joining the Campus Unity Committee, and through that I got to help plan those Tough Talks, and I had the honor of carrying them on this year. I've also had the honor of sitting at the table with administration and faculty in regard to planning events, doing community outreach, community service, and planning responses to issues and concerns on campus, such as racial slurs. It's honestly something that I'm truly passionate about. My friends all know I can't stop talking about SGA, as annoying as it may be to them. And it would be an honor to give back to the institution that has treated me so well. Thank you.
Delali?
SGA has been a great organization. Since my freshman year, I was first year reps with Connor and Brian. It's always been just a community of people who are really just passionate about making a change on campus, and I really do. I just like being around people like that. I remember when we first came to college, Connor and I were going around campus. We were talking to all the different dining halls, trying to get more seating there, and just we were really going around surveying students, trying to figure out what their issues are. And they talked about the campus dining, and that was just our first little freshman project. And just to see how we've been able to, go along and create Tough Talk, see Tough Talk continue to be carried on, create a cultural module. I really think that through all the hardworking people who have been at SGA over the years, that we've really been able to make a change that stayed on campus, and it's really impacting the future generations on this campus. So I really just want to continue to, helping people in this university, honestly. That's really what it is.
Thank you. Please.
A lot of people talk about thinking outside the box, but I've heard a wise man once say it's important to think not even considering the box. And luckily for me, my vice president candidate has been heavily involved in SGA. But for me, I think it's a great opportunity to get somebody that hasn't been in SGA. I think it's a 100% opportunity to hit. Let me roll with it. I don't think that just because I don't have experience is going to make any difference. I mean, we just talked about how there's so many different people involved in SGA, but the important thing to think is I don't really think just because somebody has 1 year of SGA or 2 years that they're going to be able to effectively advocate for people a lot better. I think all the other experience I've had on campus, where I get to hang out with all different kinds of groups and organizations, where I get to know what those groups think, how they operate, use their different ways they operate, and combine that here in SGA would be the most beneficial thing for SGA. And it's honestly a great question and a great point to make that I have not been on SGA, but we're looking for a great opportunity if I were to have the chance to be president.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is for everyone. As someone who has personally watched friends on campus struggle to get the counseling they not only needed but sought out, they know the severity of that problem. However, I've heard little about this from 3 of the tickets. How does each ticket plan to seriously address mental health issues on campus, especially the frequently multi-week-long blackouts at the counseling center, outside of creating new safe spaces and meditating rooms?
Sorry, Maya. I'm actually really excited to talk about this one. What we would like to do with Fly Higher is add the number of counselors in the counseling center. So through my internship, I actually have some grant writing experience, and what we would like to do if winning the presidency is to work with administrators and faculty to restructure the budget to allocate more funds to the counseling center, but also to apply for grants for more counseling center programming. So by increasing the funding within the counseling center, we can advocate for them to hire more counselors for students to see, but we would also like to advocate for extra hours to accommodate student schedules. So I don't know about you all, but I can relate to being busy from 9 to 5. So it's really hard to not only find an appointment time that works for you, but you have classes between 9 and 5 or work between 9 and 5. So that's already hard enough to make. So we would like to see a second shift added to the appointment schedule. Also, what other universities do is they have an online booking system. Right now, you have to make a phone call also between the 9 and 5 hours to make an appointment. So we would like to install an online booking system for both the counseling center and the health center to make it more accessible for students to make appointments.
So as I was speaking earlier about trying to lobby the administration to get more funding on campus, this funding will direct in, this is a great idea. We were thinking about this as well, but I know a lot of candidates have said we need to increase the amount of counselors on campus, and that's a really big part. We also, I think that since student government is so close to the issue of mental health, and this is something that we really want to address, there needs to be a position in student government that, really sole's focus is mental health. So we plan on creating a new director position and a new committee in student government that addresses this mental health. And they will, of course, be partnering with PAVE. They will have a representative from PAVE on there, and as well as other student organizations, because we feel as if, if we have campus unity, we have academic affairs, housing and residence, but mental health is just another issue that needs to be addressed on campus just as much. So we plan on having a director of mental health on our student government senate floor, and they will give us weekly reports on the overall climate of the campus.
So I've actually had many visits at the counseling center. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful place. I think they do a very good job there. But again, there's just not a ton of them. There's only so much time for it to actually happen. So one thing Mike and I have talked about doing is just first off education, time for people to understand like what they're going through. Once you understand what you're going through, then you can find out how to beat it. But second off, I think one thing we can implement is kind of a peer-based counseling opportunity. So these individuals will not be as qualified, but if students wanted the opportunity just to talk to somebody their age, if they just had a little bit of training and a little bit of education with some of the trained counselors, why not? Why not have an opportunity? Try something new, feel like they can relate to somebody a little bit more. So I think that'd be the number one thing that we want to add to that concept.
First off, I apologize to Delali. I just had to step out to use the restroom. I wasn't trying to not listen, and we can talk later. In terms of what we want to do in regards to mental health, I've kind of talked about it earlier. I think you have to attack the problem both within and outside of the counseling center. Although I agree with my opponents here that we do need to increase the counseling staff here, that's something that the administration is already aware of, and they are actively trying to do. I think a bigger issue on campus is the fact that there isn't visibility of the other organizations, other resources, and other departments that can offer mental health help services to students that need it. Active Minds, for example, a student organization that does incredible work bringing students who have suffered from mental health issues together to seek refuge, to get over, and to get help that they need. We also have campus recreation, community health and wellness, and a lot of students aren't aware that these can be venues to receive mental health help. And I think by elevating those programs and those resources, we're going to decrease the wait time to get counseling center help. You couple that with increased counseling staff, the problem virtually goes away. We're really excited to work with these departments, with these different organizations. One idea that we have for next year is every year during new student orientation, SGA provides every single new student on this campus with a little Marinist pin. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's SGA. We also provide students with information about how to get involved in SGA. Something that I want to do next year, and it's something that I've learned from the Red Scare Executive Board, is providing students with a magnet that have the numbers and the names of every single mental health resource and department and organization here on campus. All of the mental health resources have already begun this task of compiling all of this in the same location. It's just now sharing this with the new students, and we think that doing it as soon as possible will really help the problem. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have one more question, and then if we did not ask your question to the candidates, feel free to go up to them afterward and talk to them about anything.
So how will you guys promote SGA among our student body when you become our president? Delali, you start?
Okay. So definitely, that's why I think that incorporating the ABA system within SGA will be so vital to just expanding our name recognition amongst the campus. I see the biggest issue is that the only reason that people come to student government meetings is when they're submitting a request for special funding, and we believe that student government is more than just funding the student organizations. It's really compiling the issues of the students and addressing them, and the only way for us to address these students is by having a high number of students attend our meetings, and the ABA Pathpoint that will make that occur. So we really believe that just expanding our name out, and we're going to try to incorporate the ABA system. Not only will that help bring more people to our meetings, but that will help students have an easy event that they can attend, they can count on attending every Sunday.
If Mike and I were to be elected for president and vice president, I think the best way we would do this is as soon as we would get elected, we would start doing our best to implement some of these policies that we have, and I think that is the best kind of marketing there is. Once everybody sees how we're just accomplishing things that they want, their viewpoint of SGA is just going to shoot through the roof. They'd be like, they're making all these changes, let's get more involved with them, let's see where else we can make changes. Once the ball gets rolling, it'll pick up speed, everyone will just have a much positive opinion of SGA, and that's how people want to get more involved with them.
I think it's being an SGA cheerleader. This is something that Erica and I have tried to instill in the minds of every single person within student government since our very first retreat. There's a lot of people here in SGA, and I see a vast majority of them wearing their SGA quarter zips. And I think that highlights the work that we can do within the organization to really self-promote. Because I agree, if students don't know what our purpose is, what our mission is, then our mission is almost eroded in a sense, because we are here to serve the students. If the students don't know about the services that we offer, about how we advocate on their behalf, then again, our mission is eroded. I think Tyler and I have a lot of enthusiasm centered around this organization. I think it would be beneficial for the students who already have seen my presidency. If I were to get reelected, we're not going to skip a beat. We have these ideas already in place. We've already talked to the administrative officials that we need to in order to accomplish them and move forward together. And that's really what we're going to do to keep promoting this organization that so many of us do love and do value.
I think the best way to do this is through enthusiasm and partnerships. So as Director of Campus Unity, I did something that was absolutely unprecedented. I installed a representative position from an OMA, Office of Multicultural Affairs organization, the Asian American Association. And by looking at me, you can probably tell I am not of Asian American descent or heritage, but it was absolutely the best decision I had made this year. What I did was ask their organization to give one person who's super excited about their org, which is actually newer, so it's even better because it helped them to grow, and say, hey, would you like to come to SGA meetings and be a liaison between your organization and SGA? So what this person did was he just every day, we checked in with each other, and every week he came to my Campus Unity meetings and said, hey, this is what we're working on, these are some things that we're struggling with, and can SGA help? And of course my answer is absolutely. So by creating these partnerships and installing organizations, especially the smaller and newer ones, and letting them say, hey, you have a stake in SGA, you have a presence in SGA, and you have a seat at the table, gets students excited about SGA, helps their student organizations to grow and to be more successful, especially in regard to event planning, and just having fun and student development on campus. So in sum, partnering with students and showing them these are the things that SGA can provide for you outside of just funding.
Thank you.
I started.
Okay, we're going to first across now, so Brian, you'd like to start?
Thank you all for being here in person. It means a lot that you guys take 2 hours out of your night to be here and to hear from us. Thank you to everybody that's joined on live stream. I wanted to say, win or lose, I don't think you can go wrong with any ticket up here. We've talked about this amongst ourselves, amongst the organization. Every single one of us before you tonight has a very solid following, and arguably I would trust any of you with the organization. It means a lot to see the fact that there are 4 tickets running for election. That's huge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the largest amount of tickets that I have ever seen run for an election, and our advisor says the same. And that really speaks to what we've been able to accomplish within the organization this year. How we've been able to elevate the presence of SGA and the reputation of SGA amongst the student body has been huge. People now know that they can go to SGA with their concerns, with their complaints to the administration. And under Erica and my administration, we've been that year. We've been that person that says, yes, you can come to us, we will present your issues directly to the administration, and Tyler and I are going to be no different. Thank you so much.
Like he said, thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking the time to watch on the live stream. I hope you see and feel our enthusiasm about SGA and our passion and love for this university. That being said, also thank you to all of Jack and my friends, family, and supporters who have really cheered us on and helped us to get here. It's been an honor to be a part of this campaign, to be a member of this university, and to run for your student body president. I hope that you see that we truly care about you and want to represent you next year. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Instagram at Smith-Custer_Fisher, and we hope that you will choose to fly higher with us. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, thank all of you guys for coming out, and thank you for all of our supporters who have, followed our Instagram and just really, been with us since day one. I just really think that this ticket will be able to bring UD to a place that it's really not seen before. I think we have a lot of positive and realistic changes that can be accomplished through Connor and I's presidency, and I really just want to see the university take the leap to the place where we know it can go. I'm from Dayton, and I keep seeing this barrier that has consistently stayed here since I've been the first year, and student government, we need to use this position of the presidency to break this barrier and to give greater outreach to Dayton, and also, use the position to help get more funding for our student organizations, because we all have great causes that we're fighting for in different ways. And for us to, to actually accomplish what we want, we're going to have to need a student government that has our back. And I can assure you that Connor and I have your back. So please, Tuesday through Thursday, fly with us.
Well, I just want to walk around so you guys can see my favorite shoes on today. But thank you guys for coming. Thanks, live stream. Hopefully some people are watching on there. But I just want you guys to try something new. I want you to try something fun. One of my favorite quotes I've told people is, lukewarm is no good. And if you ask anyone about me, I'm the least lukewarm person you know. I go everything full at it. I like being serious about everything. I like having fun. But when I set my mind to something, as I said, I'm going to make sure it gets done. I just want to make sure that school is fun next year. I'm not going to feel hurt if I don't get elected. I just pray to God that one of the four of us tickets makes it into office and gets a lot done. I think I can do that best for you. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think so. But the opportunity is yours. Your guys' votes are what matter, and that's what we care about. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you for everybody who supported me, and let's have some fun.
That concludes our forum. Thank you.
And if you have any questions for any of the candidates, please feel free to talk to them. Thanks.
Thank you all so much.